I know you've all been waiting a long time for this. In my Michael Jackson trailer voice, 4 to 5 months is a long time of patience for some peak to return. So where did I leave off in this adventures arc? Oh yeah, finally returning back to our story, Knuckles the Echidna. What was the hard-headed guardian of our heroes has been doing during the events of Green Forest while everyone else was dealing with that situation? Him and his crocodile companion had a lot of rushing to do with all what was on their minds. Tikal, his apparent ancestor, finally breaking down not only the origins of Chaos's malice, but even the plight of Shadow and his need of revenge because of his loss. The Red One definitely being more motivated of how similar this almost sounds to Sonic's situation, while Vector is more worried about trying to appease this developing crush or something. This making the rest of the hunt pretty awkward, but wouldn't get more ironic till a bit later. Knuckles and Vector, upon leaving the midst of Pumpkin Hill, are blocked in their path by two red-eyed robots rocking the Eggman logo. Zeta and Epsilon were here to look for emeralds from a blue bird, but taking shards from the most powerful gem in existence would suffice too. Not taking this really serious, especially with his recent training, Knuckles just straight up throws boulders from the ground, while Vector unleashes an even stronger shoulder bash than he did back in part 3. Not even in a good mood to groove due to the current circumstances. The only thing saving the mechanical lives of the E-Series robots is the sassy voice behind them. Rouge the Bat had already capitalized on her part of the plan. Annoyed the perfect gem was in pieces, but even taking parts of perfection was better than nothing. Knuckles, like normal, is flustered and angered at the Bat, talking to reveal more of Eggman's plan, while Vector decides to take a more coolly approach with his detective ways, trying to keep the Bat talking to reveal more of Eggman's plan, acknowledging the other at their interaction, as Vector, from a very angry phone call from a defeated sounding Doc Man, reports for her to return back for his upcoming announcement, like they were just gonna let her get away, but Rouge just hits the boys with an air kiss, casually mentioning that they had a friend coming along anyways, leaving the two confused. Immediately falling down at multiple miles per hour, slams the crashed out X-Tornado on one of the hilltops, the boys going up to see if their fox friend is okay, which turns out to be true, only dizzy and disappointed at himself from his own foresight, that the dang doctor would have 3 Eggman machines ready for him at once. The three updating each other on their own situation, bring notice to the plight of the strongest characters in this verse, Heavy and Bomb being still on the egg carrier, and them all needing to form up and go back to stop this apparent eclipse cannon. Which leaves us exactly where we left off. The three heroes coming in right when Tails couldn't believe his eyes to see his best friend, who him and Amy been looking for just casually in the Chaotix home. Sonic now stares down his whole posse, feeling a bit of nervousness that he's never felt before. SPO shoves him one more time to elaborate begrudgingly, feeling worse towards his best friend and Crash Out Crusher being here too. Initially trying to brush things off like always, but is again pressed. Tails and Emmy having spent almost every waking moment during the time skip trying to look for him, even the Chaotix getting a stink eye. SPO hopes over with at least starting off his student's explanation, saying that he took in the words of Knuckles and especially him in their own fights. Sonic admitting his overconfidence in taking down Metalix, the destruction that happened after, and what even happened to both of his closest friends during the battle really hit him. Not trying to go too deep, but admitting that he originally was going to train with Knuckles like he heard, but with them being around and constantly knowing that any moment he could lose control, especially with Fleetway being a thing now, he chose to train with SPO instead, the chameleon cutting in on what a treacherous tax it really was. Never has someone with so much potential like Sonic been so lazy and carefree. One moment he's able to have enough stamina to fight 3 rounds with no problem. Another time he's dozing off during meditation. And another, especially rare moments where he loses control. Him no diffing the whole chaotic squad by himself. Vector and Charmy vehemently nodded with all the crucial times that even their Team Blast attack didn't do anything against Dark Sonic. Them concluding that Fleetway's influence seems to grow every time he's near the Chaos Emeralds, or even in the super form in general where he could possibly take over. SPO coming to the same conclusion as Tails, that the form really was an in-between of Sonic and Fleetway himself, somewhat like a false super form. Regardless, even with the multiple near-death scenarios, the disciplined ninja with a small smirk that he was finally given a training partner after all these years, both pushing them really towards the path of a shinobi, while Sonic just quickly yawns that he just took all that chakra lingo and put in his own style, that's all. But to finally let bygones be bygones, he's especially proud of Amy for becoming less independent, and his best buddy for taking his place with leading everyone else this whole time. Maybe one day he could take over as Earth's main hero, quickly passing over that dark undertone and giving acknowledgement nod to Knuckles as well with his gains. This just leaves the stranger in the room left to explain her own story. Cosmo. The Hedgehog and Chameleon admittedly not paying too much their own backstory when they first encountered her in the forest on the way to save Amy and the squad. So with a bit of a welcoming hello with Tails, we get the exact same backstory we did in Sonic X, with her father becoming metallic creatures, taking over planet eggs, and more, but this time with the inclusion of a strange new metal emperor taking over the organization themselves, which she doesn't know who, only barely escaping one of his generals, and said boss with Seedron powers before crash landing on one of these many forests. All before eventually asking the legendary Sonics and their friends help, but even with that warning, Team Sonic is more focused on their current situation first. Especially when Tails had already had a plan for that, endearing Cosmo even more to the Fox. Anyways, with this many characters in the crew, Team Sonic, Team Chaotix, Amy, Cosmo, this is the obligatory team planning section, how they're gonna deviously take down the Egghead's most controversial plan yet. Returning back to the space colony arc, Rouge was confidently sitting beside the panel of the Eclipse cannon, still thinking about the perfect opportunity to betray the Egg Empire or keep her alliance to gun, because she didn't really see how they would lose in this scenario. But again, that chaos was giving her the creeps, and this so-called ultimate life form was tense for some reason. Seeing the normally stoic Hedgehog shadowbox a little bit in anticipation of a big encounter. Eggman then enters the room with the rest of the E-Series robots that he was informed that Gamma and Beta are currently taking control of the first egg carrier, planning to use the spaceship as sanctuary for any survivors if his demands aren't met. The Doctor isn't able to ponder for too long when all of a sudden a huge wham hits a part of the colony arc. The lines going over to see a lasered out hole, the incoming air missing many parts of the arc itself. Team Dark Eggman is appalled and angered when they go over the window to see a stolen rocket to reach their location, but the second thing they see nearly gets their eyes to pop out of their sockets. Tails' most important invention yet, specifically to help travel towards Metalix for a later time, but perfect for this occasion. The extremely large, ingenious Blue Typhoon spaceship makes its appearance here. So when the X-Tornado is deployed, showing the stoic blue hedgehog on top of it, while all the matters of Team Chaotix and Amy also land on the colony arc, Eggman activates into Code Red. While Shadow is already gone, already dashing towards the terminal leading to the Eclipse cannon to make sure his promise is met. The squad now arriving at their destination, prepared to split off. Sonic with one of the last Chaos Emeralds in hand, knowing who he wanted to face off against. Even with all of his training, he was still a large influence, and he too had some sort of curiosity about the supposed ultimate life form being more similar to him than he thought, dashing too towards the Eclipse cannon control room. While the ninja did do better with his own team and disciple, he was curious on the gains of the echidna himself, then both two taking a hallway to their own fight. Suddenly though, a kick is blocked by Amy, the spy bat and the city girl ready to settle out their differences from earlier. The pink cat telling Tails to go ahead with Cosmo against Dr. Eggman, she'll finish the skank here. Not amused by her comments, she blows an energy kiss at Amy just like in Sonic Battle, but the Hedgehog seems to get a stat boost, Sonic being back decreasing her worry and not having to protect the Robros here this time. The fiery Hedgehog's able to show off her true gains. While she may not be as fast as Sonic, this Amy in this timeline has the physical strength to even compete with Canon Sonic, truly becoming a mishmash between her crush and mentor. So it's not long till Rogue in a high diff fight is trying to persuade the girl to listen to her plea. Especially on the true info of Shadow, but this was already known through Knuckles' communication with Tikal earlier, so no dice. But it's not until she mentions the strange behavior of Chaos that she begins to get worried, especially with Knuckles going right after him, it's bound to create a reaction. While this occurs, similar to like in canon, Tails with Cosmo go toe to toe to face off against Eggman, the Doctor knowing that he had the real Emerald this time, so he doesn't even bother with the trickeries, running the match back with the X-Tornado against Eggman's transferred over Egg Golem. Considering these guys never went to the pyramid this time around, it wouldn't hurt for him to use it here and crush the dang Fox for good. The Fox boy in his own attitude jeering back that he's been running away from his failures like the Metallic situation while he's been preparing for it. This exposing, angering the Doctor as they go IQ for IQ, displaying the true abilities of the X-Tornado with speed over the Golem's strength, where even as a few wipes do hit the tornado, Tails just switches back to land mode, prepared to throw a punch that will equalize with the Golem. Believing the Fox is just that stupid, he just laughs this attempt off. Cosmo too was scared, seeing a punch the size bigger than the ship coming their way. Tails though enacts his craziest plan yet, using a combination of multiple missiles launched and even jumping out of the tornado himself just to damage the fist a little bit by pulling both arms back as they stretch out with elastic gloves technology, also inspired by Knuckles, which doesn't really do too much damage to the Golem's fist, but just dead enough when the X-Tornado's chaos powered punch follows through, it crushes the Golems, leading to the rest of the contraption cracking a little bit, kinda like Dio at the end of JoJo Part 3. After the explosion, Tails just jumps excitedly, glad that his focus on intelligence rather than raw strength had worked out, but surprised when he's met with the same situation Sonic found himself in the canon story. Eggman had the Seedron girl in blast radius, demanding for the Fox to hand over the emerald, right on top of a suspicious capsule. Tails does so, not wishing to get his new friend her, as it would be exactly what Sonic would have done himself. Eggman just laughs about how much the Fox really tried to be Sonic's replacement during this whole time skip, but at the end, he still didn't compare it to his role models or even his own genius this time. There's no fake Chaos Emerald for him to initiate a Chaos Control here. Tails himself would even know how to do that, so when the Fox plummets and Cosmo screams his name, it truly seems like the end of the twin failed Fox in this timeline. But Cosmo's cries are answered, enriched by the part for sure. So when the Fox is chaos controlled surprisingly by the emotions of the siege reaching the Doctor's emerald, he's flabbergasted. What kind of whim, with a satisfying spin dash knocking the Doctor off his feet, and finally truly giving Tails a win over the Doctor for the first time, reaching the feats of Sonic. And with Knuckles and Espia going after Chaos and Sonic going after Shadow, their victory is assured. Now focusing back on Earth on how they're gonna save Heavy and Bomb from their position. But suddenly one of Eggman's monitors shows another room of chaos and another big lizard-like creature that even Eggman knew nothing of. The now rushing Amy and Rouge coming into the room themselves, with the spy bat confirming that the Ultimate Lifeform project ran deeper than any of them thought. Pow, and that was the last of the two. The sound of the Guardian, the Shinobi, tactically destroying the remains of Zeta and Espelon. Knuckles using the chance to showcase his own gains a bit with a chuckle. His more sociability here making him show more of his personality by being a bit more comedic, whilst Espio still stayed alert, especially with the ancestor of Said Echidna warning the two opponents that they're about to face more anger and hate than anyone else. So when they reach the strange room of the Bio Lizard and Chaos 5, seeing the Spear of Tekal still kicking around, he crashes out immediately, not minding the new lizard, which itself was ready to throw down. The lizard only having the mental functions to make sure the colony yard crashes towards Earth just like Gerald intended, into a 2v2 fight unlike any other. If it wasn't for the water-based floods coming out of Chaos, it was the Bio Lizard with its filth and constant regeneration. Honestly, the two adventurous monsters slowly beginning to work together more and more, Tekal mentioning that the hatred between them two was just giving out more negative Chaos energy from the 5 emeralds already in Chaos's control. This though is when Knuckles' fists begin to get on fire, finally starting to use more of his moveset from Sonic Battle here, with fiery explosive punches, starting to even make some of the water evaporate around, while Espio uses the distraction, had already hit the gym on top of the Bio Lizard multiple times. His few years of training with his apprentice had finally allowed him to tap into the speed type he really was and pace the Hedgehog himself, and now to the point where his ninjutsu was now one-handed and sometimes even releasing jutsus without any hands at all. So with his own developed Chaos abilities, creating a shadow clone on the floor that uniquely holds Chaos 5 in place, almost like it's possessed, and even with a grit quickly telling the Echidna to aim for the brain, it was clearly his weak spot. Immediately Knuckles digs up a piece of rock to shield himself against from the upcoming blast, but is blown away by the anger god of destruction. But this is where Tekal steps in, shielding her descendant and having a prediction of what's to come, giving her remaining life force to the Echidna just for him to finally draw off the last knowledge needed to finally use some of the Master Emerald shards to gain back the same green aura he had back in part 2. Landing a ground punch that blows everyone back in the room, toppling the lizard while degenerating the other. Espio finally letting go of his chaos possessing jutsu and giving a sigh of relief, while giving himself and the Echidna criticism in the battle. that they laugh at. This all while the Bio-Lizard attempts to enact a move that only the ultimate life form would be known for. With this being it, we cut back to the fight I think we've all been waiting for. The two hedgehogs jive side to side just like we would know of, desperately wanting to get more info on the other's deal and backstory, but both being a bit too prideful to talk about it in depth. Besides some side comments like being the last of the Doctor's creations, Maria, and just the guy who won't let his friends gut down again. Shadow demanding what was his game. The blue carefree rodent wouldn't get anything about keeping a promise to a friend to the very end, even if he has to work together with this terrible excuse of a grandson and some ancient water being. He would do all what it's take, but is surprised and gets a bit more respect when Sonic replies without skipping a beat, mentioning that he too had screwed up a couple years back and also had a personal promise of his own to defeat someone else to protect his own friends against. The scary way he says that does frighten the hedgehog a little bit. You could tell there's way more to Shadow than he thought, apologizing earlier for the beatdown coming his way. Like a flash, all cockiness is gone and full focus is in the face as a homing attack that Shadow barely visualizes occurs, the true battle beginning. As surprisingly, Sonic stays on the defense, almost trying to see the scope of this battle, but still showing his cocky nature, the ultimate life form going for multiple gifts that are battered away, and is surprised when this whole time he was fighting a Shadow clone as it poofs away. What was with this guy? That's all Shadow can say when it takes a Chaos Spirit to finally land a hit on the Hedgehog, who knew he was at a disadvantage, especially with the Chaos Emerald being in his possession instead of his. But strangely, upon this thought happening, Sonic just throws him the N-word. Was he insane? How did he? Just Hedgehog intuition. Enough complaining though. If this is what he needed to prove that he's the ultimate life form or whatever, then fine. Shadow doesn't hesitate though at this supposed stupidity going on here, starting to use multiple chaos controls to hit Sonic. Sonic though is able to dodge regardless of the time stop, doing a mean uppercut kick before using his hand for another chaos boomer talk that lands cleanly this time around, but Shadow returns with another dodge spear. This whole fight allowing Shadow to adapt even further and further as he equals with Sonic slowly and slowly, still having the edge in skill and honest overall chaos abilities, which baffles the Black Edge Hedgehog. He didn't care if he was the ultimate whatever. They were about to find out who the true ultimate life form was, a strange intuition telling him that he too has strange hidden power, being really annoyed at the influence of Fleetway for his curiosity. Suddenly though, Shadow's too taken to a white space, kinda anime like, seeing the blue blur attempt to reach him with the truth of Maria but still refusing. Why would he believe this cocky faker of his own memories? Sonic now giving up any type of peace offering. Suddenly though, a weird, strange, crazy looking figure shows up behind him. Shadow's appalled when he sees a crazed being with messed up eyes, and he too behind himself sees a dark figure, multiple eyes, a grotesque face. This was never mentioned by the Doctor. The crazed looking hedgehog just mutters that it seems like he has competition while laughing, telling his apparent partner to tear this guy to shreds and stop feeling bad for what happened years ago so they can go back to destroying everything and having the time of their life. Fear finally hitting Shadow as he's hit back to the real world, but with a shut up of desperation, Shadow then boost dashes towards Sonic with a beam, producing smoke, only hearing an utterance of certain amount of minutes as a dark lightning bolt strikes the smoke. Dark energy begins to surround Sonic. A fur coat more dark than ever begins to appear, finalizing with black irises that would shudder anyone upon seeing it, and standing with a commanding pose with the spear of the crazed Fleetway above him, showing the origin of his powers and almost appearing like an unwanted stand. Another negative chaos presence hits the colony arc as Dark Sonic, that everyone is aware of. They keep gritting that I guess the form could only get stronger, while SB only mutters that he better show that their time together wasn't waste, like putting on an old coat but still having the same swagger as before. Dark Sonic only cackles with a chuckle that his influence this time around was finally easier to handle. Having to be restrained and almost killing the Chaotix multiple times will do that to you. So when Shadow finally gets his motivation back up, he's met with a 10 times faster Gatling barrage to the dark and begins to uppercut the ultimate life form, not only to see one, but multiple countless clones of the hedgehog surround in midair. Sonic's novice ninja abilities had only grown through this transformation. Shadow now truly questioned if his tie of the ultimate life form was a farce, barely keeping conscious as he methodically jumped and only hearing chuckling throughout his pain, all before being hit with a strong dark speed dash. But this too forces Shadow to delve more into a bit more of his memories, getting a more clear thing of what Maria said, but still not believing it just a little bit. But out of desperation, tapping into a strange hive mind or something? Regardless, Shadow's not caring where this power came from, but deciding to use it anyways, with pulsating red eyes, where his doom powers activate way earlier here than normal, not caring where it come from, mimicking the same stance as Sonic, where Sonic can only whistle in excitement as they go blow for blow, as Doom powers Shadow with his Chaos Control Emerald in the back pocket make a devious combo, with Doom morph through cutting around the clones, or Doom wings for evasion. His memories may have been altered, but with these powers he doesn't have to face that reality. Dark Sonic though remains silent, only chuckling in both amusement and uncertainty. That Fleetway was really scary if he could sense such a power in disguise. Shadow not believing that he had the Hedgehog defeated, but is surprised when he hears another poof, but then hears a crack on the ground, uppercutting Shadow, the original being out of view this whole time before being laid to unconsciousness. Being a natural Chaos Emerald radar will do that for you. When Shadow awakens sometime later, he still sees the darkened being in front of him, ready to accept his fate, but instead, Sonic pulls back the power, putting down the cocky talk to quickly confirm what Knuckles said about the truth of Shadow's life, even mentioning a quick abridged version of his own classic adventures and the origin of the powers he has now. He's finally giving Shadow clarification and way more respect to this timeline Sonic, since he's coming off as a bit more mature. But before a plan can be set, Chaos 6 then finally spews in through a leaking pipe, and before Sonic can transform again, he's already obtained the last emerald, leading to an immediate transformation. Tails then communicates to the duo about the danger they really were in, seeing the colony arc shake because of the now final hazard also taking control of the ship. Knuckles too quickly getting some of the Master Emeralds charged while he's at it, while Sonic carries off Shadow to dodge the pipes and misses as water begins to engulf the entire arc. Even Eggman and co decide to abandon ship away to the Blue Typhoon as well. Everyone is appalled and seeing the potential description as a meteor-sized spacecraft begins to fall to Earth with a water deity as a second slap to the face. And just as a warning, a water blast is charged towards the Blue Typhoon, where Tails quickly steers but still gets tripped, actually blasting a part of the crew away. Knuckles and the few Chaotix seem to fly off into space towards Earth's atmosphere. The team quickly tries to diverse a plan to get both groups back, while the main fighters in the group like Sonic, Shadow, and Espio attempt to talk about the potential of using the Chaos Emeralds to turn super, but Sonic is really against them. Even with his better control and mastering of his form, he didn't want to take any sort of chance for Fleetway coming back and taking over, this leaving things at an impasse. But if that wasn't enough, just like in canon though, the 7 weakened Chaos Emeralds are spat out in space, but an amalgamation begins to occur as the chaos drives and the final hazard begin to synchronize with perfect chaos, both holding hate against a large amount of humanity for its messed up existence, and the echidnas with Knuckles still being around. The seas of the earth begin to move up out of the globe for some reason towards perfect chaos, and combine and amalgamate with the colony arc itself. God of destruction and perfect life form collide as a new deity is born that day, right in the viewpoint of the moon itself. Other gods in the multiverse acknowledge this new being's existence, Sonic swearing they could hear Fleetway whisper in his ear that he was really in it this time. This being could have multiple names: Project Perfected Lifeform, Bio Chaos, the Chaotic Hazard, but none is accepted till Eggman utters a nickname that all are weary of: the Eclipse Serpent. As this is where I'll be leaving things off for right now. Hey! Told y'all, dog. It's been 4 to 5 months. I think it was worth the wait. I'm sorry it's been a bit for this series, but I already told you it's more money making mindset from now on. So, what's some of you guys' predictions for part 8? That will be the last part of the adventures arc we're in, and potentially even my last What If video in general, besides full stories that will be released. Hopefully, I cooked long enough, but that'll be all for me. I gotta go pay attention to the semester and schooling. And if you want to check out the remaining parts of the Scourge series, if you haven't seen them yet, make sure you subscribe to the Patreon. But that's all for me. Have a blessed rest of your day.